Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Destiny: The Taken King, a first-person shooter from Bungie and Activision. So this is the technically the third expansion, but the first major kind of major expansion for Destiny. And when we did a review last year for Destiny, I believe I gave it a buy rating. I stick by that rating. I think Destiny is a very fun game, but it's, it has its flaws. But I think at its core, it has a lot of good things. The Taken King takes all those good things and fixes all the bad things for the most part. There's still some flaws, I'll talk about that later, but the Taken King is pretty much exactly what Destiny should have been at launch. So for those like joking around that, original Destiny was beta and this is a real thing, in honesty, it kind of feels that way.
I'm picking up fluctuations in the power conduit.
Relax. I modified the tech myself. Probably just Saturn's radio storms running interference.
It's malfunctioning.
Did you break my stealth drive?
Growing strong.
So the story of Taken King takes place directly, pretty much after the the events of House of Wolves. Oryx, the father of Crota, has come to our solar system after receiving kind of a last-minute ditch effort of Crota to get help. Oryx is pissed and is taking over the solar system. He has the ability to create what are called Taken, which is basically he mind washes different races, minions, and stuff, and makes them hurt their own, his own army. There's some other stuff I'm not going to go into spoilers, but overall, unlike the original Destiny, this game actually has story. Or this expansion, and it's been kind of building up. If you go look at Dark Below, they kind of worked with it a little bit. And then in House of Wolves, I thought the story was a lot better in terms of how they told it. And Taken King, I think, is kind of that final realization of how they need to deliver the stories and actually have cutscenes, which I think was a major part. Also, Nathan Fillion is the greatest person ever. His character steals the show in this, as well as Nolan North as the Ghost. I think he does a good job. And I think the entire, the thing with this one is it actually has a cast. And all the cast is really good, and the voiceover work is actually pretty good this time around. You can skip cutscenes this time, which is nice. But overall, it just feels like they put a lot more effort into telling a story. And like I said, it's been kind of building up with the last two expansions, and Taken King is that final, this is how we're going to do it. And it works very, very, very well. It's very effective. I understand exactly what was going on, why I'm doing these things. I understood who Oryx was, what his beef is, and he was a constant kind of threat that I always had to kind of deal with, which is a really good move on their part. And I hope whatever antagonist they get for the next game, which should be Destiny 2, they remember that and have him be a little bit more force center instead of this, One of the lines I always like quoting from Destiny was, "I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain." Which is the worst thing you could possibly say in a video game, because it just basically says, I don't really know what's going on, so I'm not just going to explain it. If you're going to use at least that line, explain it later, but the problem with the original Destiny is they never did. And like I said, I really hammered on stories Destiny in the first one. Taken King, I can't do it because the storyline at least is coherent. Like I said, it's it could use a little bit of work in terms of, I still think the Grimoire should be in game because a lot of the story elements are still in those. But other than that, I can't complain, really, anymore.
Everyone loves a bad idea when it works. Now, excuse me, Guardian, I have to go have an uncomfortable conversation with Eris about her ship. Get home safe.
Taken and Cabal.
Okay, so year 2 gameplay. I'm just going to hurry and say most of the gameplay is pretty much exactly the same. However, I'm going to go over basically the things that they have changed. Change number 1 is the quest system. If you played original Destiny, you just kind of went from story mission to story mission and kind of did that. As well as just kind of random things. Taken King implemented the quest system, which they kind of started in House of Wolves and somewhat in the Dark Below. Which is basically, you grab a quest, and it's a continual chain. It stays in your log, and you can kind of track what it's doing. It tells you where to go, what's going on, kind of your progress on it. It's a lot easier to understand what's going on, where to go, and it just looks a lot better. It's basically bounties, but a continuation of bounties. Kind of like if you ever did the exotic weapon quests. They're a lot more like that, which I think is a really good move, and it's just, I think, looks sleeker, and it makes everything flow a little better, especially to where you can have multiple ones of these going at once. Strikes and missions are varied. They're actually mechanics instead of just shooting at a sponge. One of my favorites I did at least mission was, there's one that involves stealth, which was really fun. And the strike I actually really liked was, it's one on Venus. And you have to grab this orb and take it to different points to take down gates. And even the boss uses this to where you have to grab an orb, put it somewhere before you can attack. But you also have to dodge minions and all the other stuff. And it was just a lot. It felt better than just, turn, shoot, hide. Okay, he's on the next person. Turn, shoot, hide. There was a little bit more going on. You had to work a little bit more as a team. And the other strike I ran was very similar to where there's a lot of stuff going on. You have different minions going from everywhere. There's environmental hazards. And you have to deal with this thing in the middle. And it just... They felt a little bit more like mini raids and dungeons from like an MMO, which I really enjoyed. Other gameplay changes are there's a couple new modes for PvP, which are actually pretty fun. One's more of a capture the flag-esque one, and I haven't played the other one, but the one that's capture the flaggy, I like that one. It's just a lot more varied, and the PvP once again feels fine. There's new subclasses. Each class gets a new subclass. They all, from at least the 2 I've opened for Titan and Hunter, they play fine. I really enjoy Titans. Hunters is okay. It's a lot more kind of supporty, where Titan's more, in your face. I want to try Warlock's little lightning zapping. But now all 3 technically have 2 more aggressive subclasses and 1 supportive, which I thought was a smart move. Let's see what other bits of gameplay have changed overall. What cutscenes? Bounties are still there. Factions work a little differently now. You can choose a faction per week. And when you gain rep with the Vanguard or the Crucible, you actually gain rep with the faction, so it's no longer sacrifice all of your rep to get that. There's the ghost shells now matter. Light's been changed, so I'm going to go over light changes because that goes into the ghost shells. Light is now based off of attack and defense ratings. It's no longer just a stat on gear. It's just figures out based off of what attack and defense you have. The nice thing about this is everybody's level 40, so it kind of helps with griefing a little bit, just because you don't know where they're at in terms of light unless you check them. The other thing is it allows them to kind of play with things, I guess, a little bit with some of the equipment, which I'll get into a little bit because equipment's changed too. We have 2 new pieces of equipment. The Ghost Shell, which you've always had a Ghost Shell, but you've always had just... If you had the CE, you had the one special one, then you had the original. Ghost Shells also give you buffs and also help you find resources and glimmer a lot easier, which are cool, and also adds to your light. And then there's the Artifact slot, which is a piece of gear that modifies or helps with certain subclasses. There are cool little things that you get at 40, and there's like more just kind of fun piece of gear that you can mess with and make builds with. Gear, once again, hasn't changed a whole lot, but the nice thing I like about the gear set in this one is in the original Destiny, you had really just a straight line and one that goes down, and really only 2 choices with gear in terms of like kind of your scope and like a perk. The nice thing about this time around is each tree usually has 2 to 3 things in them in a row. So some of them like increase shotgun ammo, but you don't want the shotgun ammo. It also has fusion ammo if you want to use fusion ammo, or sidearm ammo, or it just has multiple things on it. And same with like you want more intellect or more discipline, because it ups that a little bit, and it's just a lot more. It just feels a little better because you can get a piece of gear that may not have the exact stats, but you can maybe get a piece of gear that has now you can just hope you get a piece of gear that has 1 of 2. It's kind of nice. The other thing is in Fusion, you can upgrade a piece of gear using legendary marks and motes of light to upgrade your gear, so you never have to lose it. So if you find a piece of legendary gear that it's not quite as good as what you can buy at like the Vanguard or the Raid, but you really like the perks and it has the stats you want, you can infuse it and make it better by sacrificing some stuff, and that's really good. Legendary marks are cool now. They're replacing the Vanguard and Crucible marks because those no longer exist. It's just one what's a token for them all now, which is I really like that move as well. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a bunch of other kind of small things to the gameplay that they tweaked, but there actually is one other piece of gameplay I want to talk about, and that's mystery quest. When you're on patrol, every now and then you'll get a mystery quest, and it won't tell you exactly what to do. You have to figure it out, and the more enemies you kill, the more things you do, it'll slowly unveil what it is until you figure it out and actually do the quest. Like my first one was just kill enemies, so I was just shooting it, kill vanguards. So I killed a couple of them and then one up, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the quest. So I did that. The next part took me a little longer until I figured out more of the word, which was generate orbs of light. And the third one was do an emote. But that one took me the longest because I never got the full word. And it's just little things like that I think was really smart. And the Dreadnought area, which is a new actual, patrol area, is awesome. It is very mazy, very big, lots of hidden stuff to find, chests that I have no idea what happens when you open. I had one chest that I figured out, I got the item for. I used it and I didn't quite understand what happened. It said that the Hive were now stalking me and I never saw them, so I don't know if I just missed it or someone else killed it. But the point being is there's just a lot of mysteries on the Dreadnought and it's really cool. Other than that, I haven't tried the raid, but it's a raid, so I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be pretty fun, as long as there's anything like Volta Glass or Proto's End. I liked both of them. So yeah, so I'm not gonna, obviously put that into the raid, but there's a raid this time around. Yeah, my really only complaint with the gameplay now is, I don't know, I think the light tiers are a little high for things, but that's just a personal thing. But I'd rather just get into it, into the content and not have to worry about grinding gear. But MMO and all that, well, sort of. Destiny the Taken King is exactly what Destiny should have been at launch. I thought the original Destiny was a good enough game that I think this should drop money on as long as you had friends really to invest in it.
What's our next move?
And Taken King is the same basic concept. If you have friends, this game's great. It still is. However, if you don't have friends, this game's, I think, better now. It's a lot better. I think the story's a lot more coherent. Strikes and the missions you do are a little bit more varied. And everything just seems to feel a lot better. Taken King gives a buy rating. I really am enjoying it. And like I said, this really does feel like what Destiny should have been day one. And if you've listened to any of the postings or podcasts, I thought this one should have been free for season pass holders because we bought it. I still stick by that because this is really what I paid for. Is I finally got the full finished product. At least the product that I thought I was going to get. I still think the original Destiny was fun and great, but this is what I thought I was going to get. So that's it for this review. Next review will actually be for Soma, hopefully, which comes out next week. I'm hoping to get my hands on that. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching, everybody. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out at rulo3.com for all our news postings, Let's Plays. I'm working on getting this next 2 episodes of our Star Wars Let's Play up. I just ran out of time and some other things came up with work. And all that stuff. We're going to be doing a giveaway next month. I'm just making that kind of comment here. So keep your ears out and eyes on the site for more information when that's starting up in October. And that's it. So until next time, always remember to trust in the rule of 3.